My country lay within a vast desert. When the sun rose into the sky, a burning wind punished my land, searing the world, and when the moon climbed into the dark of night, a frigid gale pierced our homes. No matter when it came, the wind carried the same thing: death. But the winds that blew across the green fields of Hyrule brought something other than suffering and ruin. I coveted that wind, I suppose. It can only be called fate, that here I would again gather the three with the crests, that I should lay my hand on that which grants the wishes of the beholder, that when power, wisdom and courage come together, the gods would have no choice but to come down. The power of the gods, the Triforce, he who touches it will have whatever he desires granted. Already the crest of wisdom is mine. All that remains... Do not fear, I will not kill you. I merely have need of the power that now dwells within you. Now, let us put an end to that which binds us together. Gods, hear that which I desire. Expose this land to the rays of the sun once more. Let them burn forth. Give Hyrule to me. He who touches it will have whatever he desires granted. That is what you said, is it not, Ganondorf? Gods of the Triforce, hear that which I desire. Hope. I desire hope for these children. Give them a future. Wash away this ancient land of Hyrule. Let a ray of hope shine on the future of the world. And let our destinies finally be fulfilled. Ganondorf, may you drown with Hyrule. This is foolishness. A future for you? What are you laughing at, Ganondorf? You're insane! Doctor, I'm sorry. I overslept. Stupid girl. I think it's time for us to say goodbye to this place. We must return to the world above, back to our ocean. Link's not wearing the hero's charm. That's weird. Very well then. Allow me to show you. Your future. Yes, allow me to show you just what hope you have. See how much your precious Triforce is worth. I'll use this bow to cover you. Attack him as best you can. God, I love that entire scene. It's fantastic. Just because, like, I've said this a lot, but, like, Ganondorf is such a good villain in my head. Like, he's so interesting because you can see from there he's not entirely evil, and I'll talk about that more slightly later. But for now, we're fighting him. What we essentially have to do is, yeah, you can see there, we keep him focused on us, and Zelda will shoot him in the back with a light arrow. When she does that, then is their chance to hit him. We can also stun him by doing a parry attack like that, and get a few hits on him. But generally, yeah, as long as we keep him focused on us, he won't be ready to dodge a light arrow when it comes. And we just proceed kind of like that. Yeah, it's the fact that, like, Ganondorf, you can see at the end when he kind of, like, cracks there, he does kind of go mad and start screaming and laughing wildly a lot. But generally... Ooh, that hurt. Generally, he is quite a kind of, like... not so much softly spoken, but he's a very kind of eloquent villain, and I think that's kind of what makes him scary. As you can see, he's got, well, not so much scary, it's just well written, I think. Yeah, you can see he's kind of stunned Zelda, but we can still fight him by kind of parrying him like that. She's still got our light arrows, so we can't use that at all, but she's back up and around, which is awesome. Now this time, if we speak to her, she says, Doctor, you have to distract him. Are you ready? I'll aim for you, and you use your shield. Do you get it? Sounds like a needlessly complicated and stupid thing, but either way, set yourself up so that you are between her and Ganondorf, and yes, light arrow somehow bounces off your shield, and then bam! Nice and straightforward. The wind. It is blowing. Doctor. My children, listen to me. I have lived regretting the past, and I have faced those regrets. If only I could do things over again, not a day of my life has gone by without my thoughts turning to my kingdom of old. I have lived bound to Hyrule. In that sense, I was the same as Ganondorf. But you... I want you to live for the future. There may be nothing left for you, but despite that, you must look forward and walk a path of hope, trusting that it will sustain you when darkness comes. Farewell. This is the only world that your ancestors were able to leave you. Please forgive us. Wait! You could come with us. Yes, of course, we have a ship, we can find it. We will find it! The land that will be the next Hyrule. So... but child, that land will not be Hyrule. It will be your land! I have scattered the seeds of the future. Well, if it isn't Prince Kamali. Interesting thing to note as well, this is the only cutscene in the game All the other cutscenes here are like made just using the models in the game and scripts and moving them around. This is the only one that's like a pre-rendered like video file that plays, and thus it's the only cutscene in the game that currently is now playing on both the gamepad and the TV. Like normally the gamepad's always got the menu on even in cutscenes, so that's kind of interesting. Just thought I'd point that out now. Also, no one speaks in it, which is weird. I like they see Makar and Medley there as well. It's nice to know they're not just trapped in the temples praying for all eternity now that Ganon's dead, which is cool. And he's pretty dead. We stabbed him right in the face. That was glorious. So now comes the part, as ever, during the credits of a game where we discuss like both the game and the LP and how it went. That whole final scene, I love. Like, you can read a lot into this game, and kind of like the ideas behind it, and just the thing I like is like the contrast between like the King of Hyrule and Ganondorf and Link and Zelda. That Link and Zelda are like the new kids, the new generation, and then I like the concept that the King of Hyrule and Ganondorf are both in their own ways kind of like stubborn old men refusing to move on. They're both tied to kind of Hyrule, Ganon by his greed, but then the King by his like regret as well. It's quite interesting. It's also one of very few times when a character actually pretty much dies in a Zelda game, like a good character. That's rare, but the King probably does die. But it's quite strange because the King, there's some interesting theories about him, because the King, you never actually see him move. He teleports and stuff like that. You never see him outside Hyrule except as a boat. And you, like, in that final scene, he just, after he makes his wish for the Triforce, he just disappears and then, like, reappears. There's theories that he's like a ghost bound to Hyrule by his regret and stuff like that, and it kind of makes sense. But as a whole, oh my god, this game, I love it. I didn't, like, this episode, episode 44 now, this must be 44 or 45, and that's the end of the LP. I've 100%ed it, and I did not grow sick of it at all, and that says, that's a sign of a good game. As I say, it's definitely my favourite Zelda, and probably definitely one of my top few all-time games. I've been looking forward to LPing it for ages, and it was exactly as kind of good as I had hoped. It's the first time I've fully 100%ed, like, everything, including all the figurines. Like, I've done individually parts of it, like, I've got all the treasure charts on some runs, got, like, all of the choo-choos on other runs, but this is the first time I've done one run where I got all of it, which was awesome. I can see why people say it's easy, just because, like, that final boss battle, let's be honest, was a bit of a joke. Like, it only takes a couple of hits to annoy him. I had a lot of hit. Well, there's another LP, there's 2 in a row now, where I never died at all. And that's kind of cool, that, yeah, I never died. I had 3 fairies and some grandma's soup for that final battle, which I didn't at all need. So that's cool. Yeah, it's easy, and it's one of the things that slightly annoys me with modern Zelda games, is it has hero mode. For, like, essentially a harder difficulty, but all it does is makes it artificially harder. Like, it makes enemies deal more damage to you and makes hearts appear less often, if at all, which feels just really artificial to me and annoys me, because it's like, you could essentially, like, do that yourself. You could just go through and just decide not to use potions, but the fact they add it in a separate game mode means they think it's kind of more important than it is, but it feels like you've just kind of, you've made it difficult, like, in a different way, not kind of an actual decent way of difficulty. I know it's a difficult thing to do, but, like, it'd be better if hero mode you had, like in Master Quest, like, you had the dungeons in different ways, or, like, enemies with smarter AI or something like that. Hero mode just, for me, feels too easy as a thing to tack on, and it doesn't make it much harder, I don't find. But anyway, yeah. The other thing is, that's going to be coming up soon, is basically it's possible to do a second quest now that kind of you restart, and the only changes are Link is wearing his pajamas the whole thing through. Ariel's wearing that, like, skull dress she was wearing in the final thing. You start with a deluxe Pixar box, which is kind of cool, but as I showed in this, not strictly necessary. And, oh, the other cool thing is you can read Hylian, and that is kind of cool, because I didn't translate any of the Hylian going through, because it's, like, all spoilers. Like, if you played it back through a second time, then it would explain a lot more, but, like, the conversation that the King of Hyrule has with, Jabun is, like, all just spoilers about the kind of that he's the King of Hyrule twist, the Zelda is Tetra twist. It's all hilarious spoilers, so I didn't bother translating it, even though I could. As a whole as well, this has been a good series. It's been one of my most, like, busy series as it's been my longest series as well. Like, the full footage, like, the actual episodes came to about 15 hours in total. The raw footage was about 25 hours, kind of all things considered, and gameplay time was about 50 hours. So you can see kind of how much stuff was done off screen, and then how much stuff was, like, generally cut out. Like, it was mostly travelling was cut out, but then a lot of stuff like delivering figurines and things like that were all kind of done off screen. So it was a challenge for me. Well, not so much a challenge, just kind of something to get used to, the kind of editing and doing a lot of that. I'm kind of going to miss doing this one because, well, I'll put a trailer at the end of this, obviously, for my next project, as I always seem to do, but the next one's going to be somewhat less intense than this was, but this is one of my favourite games, and I wanted to do it justice with the LP, and I hope I did that. You can see we're getting close to the end of the credits because I like how we're rising up in the water, and when we get to the surface is kind of when it finishes. This game also very well leads on, like, the 2DS ones. Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks are direct sequels to this, and like, they lead on very nicely from the end of this game. But we're not quite at the end of this game yet. There's actually, there's a post-credit scene. It's like a Marvel film, which is coming up pretty much now. Interesting thing to note, look at the King of Red Lions here. He's really dull. Like, the red is duller, and like the yellow bits basically you can't see at all. He doesn't have the light in his eyes he normally has. That's now been used as pretty good evidence, so yes, the king has actually full-on died. And the boat is basically lifeless, which is kind of sad but poignant. But you see what I mean, like the yellow horns are just like grey now. So that's kind of cool, but also kind of sad. Anchors away! Hold the tiller steady. As for our destination, the wind will guide us. That's not a very good way to navigate, but hey. And so, for one final time with the Wind Waker, I have been the Doctor with the Infamous Gentleman. This has been one of my favourite games. I'll be back soon, don't worry. I'm going to Egypt for a couple of weeks now to do some science. But then when I get back, I'll be starting with 2 new series. One kind of like, well, you'll see. One there's already been a trailer for at the end of Halo 3, but then the other one I'm going to put a trailer for now. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join me for some more adventures in video game land soon. Here's a trailer. Enjoy, thank you, and good day.